Hey, IT Nation, Sean Lardo here again with another installment of the Wise Up podcast. This is where we get to talk to people from inside and outside the industry, and hopefully it gives you the ability to garden. We're monkey work.
Like you're gonna put some parsley on top of it?
Yeah, that sounded right. Yeah, thanks, Sam Garner. I know, I just could not, whatever. Wow. Okay. We speak with people from inside and outside the industry, where hopefully you, the audience, will be able to garner some sort of educational pieces from this, whether it be professionally or personally. I am here with my super duper patiently waiting co-host, Matt Topper. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Patiently, maybe TBD. No, everything's good.
Before you were patient, I mean, I had to do a hard restart on my laptop after a 15-minute wait on things. So yeah, so you did wait, and I appreciate that. So thank you for being patient.
You know what this means is so this is an afternoon recording, and I didn't get Duncan before the recording because I thought we might not have time, and it turns out I would have had plenty of time to go get Duncan. So I'm all out of sorts. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I figure you should always not have enough time for Dunkin' because it's not the best of the coffees, but that's I understand that. Anyway, back to preparation. Obviously, I wasn't fully prepared to record this today, even though I really was, because, Outlook stopped responding and there was no contingency for the contingency that ensued.
I'm going to start using webmail. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. So today should be a very good episode. We started to ask around for who the best people to speak with to learn from is. And so today's guest actually was referred to us by a few very, very smart, impressive people we know of, because of his ability to have a successful business, and be around for a long period of time and doing things, within the space. I don't want to get into details because that's what this whole interview is about, correct?
It is. That's the point.
So I figure you and I do you have any other banter you want to say before you move on?
Anything that I say will just lead somewhere down to the upstate conversation again. Let's just sidestep that whole thing and get right to our guest and garner or garnishing something from him.
They have a lot of good garnishing in New York. Anyway, it's good one. Feel free. Well, you might as well kick us off then. Let's go.
So without any further introduction, I just want to bring up Clay Archer. Clay, one, thank you for being patient while Sean and I totally butcher that intro, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Good to be here.
And I really love it. You already did your lower third for us so that we don't have to worry about it. That looks really good.
I'm a nerd.
We all are. I appreciate that. A lot of people don't even know it's even a lower third until you're a nerd, and then you know it's a lower third.
Exactly.
Until you're an AV nerd, right? You can be a IT nerd for years without having to get into that stuff.
It's true. I won't change it on the fly here, but I could.
Thank you for not showing us off, Clay. I really appreciate that. So Clay, let's get a little bit of background on you. Where are you located out of now?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida right now. We have offices in Jacksonville, Orlando, Freeport, which is in the Panhandle, Atlanta, and Columbia, South Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is your role with the company?
I am the CEO. So basically I sit over here and pretend like I'm doing stuff.
And did you start the company as well?
I did. Yeah, I'm the founder. Yeah.
I think that's important to acknowledge because, some people, there's a lot, especially now with the M&A and the PE stuff that's going on. Not every CEO has been the founder that's built it. Now there's a lot that have been replaced with people now. So, so how long have you been in business for?
95.
95. Wow.
Yeah. 30 years.
Wow.
It's crazy for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. You said I've been around a while. That's just Andre's way of calling me old, but yeah, that's it happens.
Yeah. Andre, you can only listen to what he says to a certain degree because we won't get into his college football team conversations. He still thinks the Huskers are going to win a national title somehow, and he fights it tooth and nail.
He's got me though, because I applied to Georgia Tech and didn't get in, and he is a Georgia Tech grad, so he's got my respect there.
That's good. Like, good,
Yeah.
good for you. That's, you find some common ground. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, my dad's a Georgia Bulldog, so I can root against the Bulldogs with Andre, so that's good.
You can. Absolutely can. Honestly, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I will always root against Georgia at this point because of that kick that was missed a couple years ago for us to go to the national championship game, and then Georgia just decimated, TCU the next. Yeah.
Yeah. I also went to Florida, so I'm also do not like Ohio State. So there you go.
Look at that full circle of everybody not liking.
Full circle of love and hate right there. Yeah, but poor Andre and his Cornhuskers. He tries, man.
But he tries to convince me, and I'm like, Andre, it's the Cornhuskers. It doesn't matter.
It's not the 1980s anymore.
That's what they need. They need the option back. You want to run the option? I'm like, it's over. It's gone. It's long gone. I'm sorry.
He's not going to let it go, man. He's not going to let it go. Oh no, Sean froze.
Oh, Sean froze.
There you go. Okay, yeah.
That was the Lord Words Gods, Sean. And
Okay.
Yeah, that was Andre doing that from afar.
So 95 to now. What was it? Was it a large business from the beginning?
So
how did you get into it?
it was happenstance. My stepfather was an oral surgeon. My mom's a hygienist. My wife's a hygienist, and my father-in-law is a periodontist. So I knew all the dentists. I actually got out of college and I started doing some bookkeeping and like insurance billing for some of the friends of my parents, basically dentists, doctors around town. And really quickly they started asking me to do some of their computer stuff. And this is 95, man. So you got to think computers weren't what computers are now, and networks weren't what they are now. People were just baby stepping into it. And so I could just kind of do it in my spare time. I was doing their bookkeeping or whatever. And after a while, it maybe took 2 or 3 years at that I started to realize, okay, I'm making more money doing this computer consulting than I am doing this basically business consulting. And so slowly but surely, I just morphed into that. And I was doing it by myself probably until the late 90s. And then Y2K started to happen, and it started to be like, okay, I need to turn this into a real business. And so that's when the MSP really started, probably in 98, 99, when I got rid of all the other stuff.
And that's pretty early in the realm of MSP terms. Were you doing modern MSP style thing, or
As well,
or like hourly contract stuff?
It was hourly contract. It wasn't until I joined HTG. It's called HTG, so I can still call it HTG at that point. In 2000, I think I went to the first ConnectWise IT Nation in 2010, and we showed up on a Wednesday. And the Wednesday wasn't really there. It was HTG day back then. And so I saw all these people running around with orange shirts on. I'm like, the heck are these people? And so the next year I applied for it, and I think my first meeting was in 2012. And when I got in there, I realized really quickly I need to be structuring this as an MSP. And so I started that. And unfortunately for me, I think I was a little early to the dental space with that. It's fortunate and unfortunate, because I don't think dentistry was quite ready for that. At that time, I probably went from having 400 or 500 clients to maybe 100 or 200 clients, because they all didn't make that jump with me. A lot of those people came back over the years, but some didn't make that jump with me. So I was pretty early in the dental space to MSPs, to the MSP game, but I was probably late for the general public. Dentists tend to do things probably, a turn behind everybody else. Whatever's happening now in general IT, it's going to happen the next turn for dentists.
I would agree with that based on what I've seen service and dental clients. Do you exclusively work with dentists, or is that just one vertical and you work with all other types of businesses as
We
well.
we work with dental adjacent stuff. So over the years, we just started to find, we're doing some lawyers, we're doing some construction, we're doing some just other professionals. And so, over that time frame, that portion of our business is probably 20 to 30%, but 70% of our business is dental. Also, being in the dental vertical, I knew all the dental vertical people. There's another station.
What up? Wait 1 second. There's an audio issue going on here.
Okay.
Good. Talk again. It's coming. I don't know. Can you hear what I like? So Matt, you
Yeah, you sound fine, Sean.
okay?
And you sound fine too now, Clay. There was just some artifacts in there.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good now.
So, anyways, I knew all the being in the dental vertical. I knew all the other dental integrators. We're an association called the Dental Integrator Association. So slowly over time, as some of those people have retired, I've acquired their practices. And so that has made me more and more dental focused as I buy people that are dental focused.
So okay. So, and this is always the question. I'm sure HCG evolved now. They talk about others. There's a lot of MSPs that struggle with. Is it based off of geography, or is it based off vertical, or is it? And we've had a couple. It's also kind of like back to the argument of, do you sell by device or per user, or how do those always seem to be the case. How did you find yourself getting into one vertical more?
Well, that vertical just made sense for me because I grew up in it and I knew everybody in Jacksonville. And so once I knew everybody in Jacksonville, then we opened up an office in Orlando because those branches of those dental supply companies, go back and forth. So I knew the people there. I had always done a ton of stuff in South Georgia. I do very well in rural areas. I always have. That's just my personality. So in Jacksonville, as I went north into Savannah, into Valdosta, Tallahassee, in Southern Georgia, I just did really well. And so it made sense. And then as far as dental integrators go, most of us stacked next to each other. So I bought Doug, who was in South Carolina. He was my next door neighbor for all the years. John, who was the guy in Atlanta, a friend of mine, we merged because he was my next door neighbor that way. Phil, the guy in the Panhandle, he was my next door neighbor. It just made sense for us to do a deal, and it was time for him to do a deal. And so with in a vertical, I go a little bit further than you would if you were just a normal MSP. Like, if I was just going to acquire somebody else, I probably wouldn't do that geography, but that geography works because of the vertical.
Is that vertical part of the secret sauce, for lack of a better term? You're able to go deeper into client needs and discuss options, and this is what has worked for other similar organizations beyond just, I can fix your technical issues. Is that one of your big strengths?
I would say yes, because obviously I know, we as a team know a lot about dentistry. And, if you want to, if you said 116, 17, and 32, I would know what you're talking about, or what an MOD is, or gutta percha is. I know dentistry because I've just been around it a long time. So that is definitely it's a sales, definitely. If you're sitting next to me, I can talk turkey. But having been in Evolve for a long time, I don't know. Everybody's got their own special sauce. And, had I gone into the legal vertical, I'm just curious, and I would be talking about legal terms, right? Like I wouldn't say, once you've gone down that path a while, yes, if you've been doing legal for a while, I'm not going to go up against Integris in a legal spot when, they're a big, MSP that does the legal vertical. I'm not going to beat them there because I don't do the legal vertical. So yes, but it kind of is an evolution. I don't know that it's necessary by design.
So I like that. So a couple of things that just unpack what I heard you say here. You knew the vertical made sense because of the relationships and everything else. But something that you said that's probably even more profound than that, because you can know about dental, but that means absolutely nothing if you can't apply to the business terms. But also but it means absolutely nothing if you don't have relationships. So it sounds like you've been able to dig into this and leverage your existing relationships first. And that's always a problem for MSPs. if most MSPs, 99% of revenue is referral based, right?
Yes.
So were you able to, it sounds like you're able to leverage that better than most.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in the beginning it's all referral based. I got lucky in a bad way early, and this is in the 2000. It just happened a couple of times where really big referral partners. So there's 3 big dental companies nationwide, and so at any given time, I was the preferred provider of one of those people. No, just a handshake deal, and they would give me all their business, and I would help sell their stuff. No, no formal agreement or anything. And then one of them, I got pretty big. This is 2007, 2008, and they changed path and they brought it in house. And then I flipped and I went to the next one, and they did it, and they referred me everything for a while. And it was a great thing because I'd done half the population that used the one provider A, and then the other half of the population used provider B. So now I'm getting exposure to all these people. And then they had a corporate change, and they brought it in house as well, or they changed their plan. And that was about the time I was in HCG. And I was in HTG with Reed Wilson. I don't know if you guys know Reed, but Reed's a pretty cool dude. He owns, uh, he owned PTG in South Carolina, and he had developed a sales team. He was using Sandler Sales and developed an inside sales team. And I realized pretty quickly that when I saw it, and there was another person in our group, Nick Bach, who was in Nebraska, same thing, growing really rapidly at 5.9s out there, developed a sales team. And I was like, these cats have got this right. And they had some, kind of just, they were speaking the truth and saying, you got to invest in it. And you're probably best if you're going to get a salesperson to get two salespeople. And, a lot of stuff that helped me kind of jump that curve as it were. It also got me out of sales, which, everybody was friends of Clay, sales to service handoff was crappy because I would go sell whatever at whatever price and, make up and all that fit into a system as soon as we started developing a sales team. And that was kind of probably the biggest thing for us there none of them could probably go sell a dentist like I can go sell a dentist, but it was better. It wasn't based off of any, like you're saying, off of referrals. We get a ton of referrals, but that we weren't just hoping and praying that they were going to fall from the sky, and we could do it at scale. And kind of, I always equate it to gold mining. We knew if we put this much dirt through the plant, we were going to get this much gold on the other side. And that was kind of an epiphany for us.
I won't even say, and based off that sharing, though, I'm not even saying it's referral based. I'm thinking you did something a lot of people didn't do. You also leveraged the relationship for you said something right away where you said, we closed business here in Jacksonville, and then their distributors and whatnot, other businesses in Orlando, you were able to just leapfrog into them as well. A lot of people don't realize to me, it's a one-to-many approach. If I do really well with you as my client, it only makes sense it's a natural thing for you to introduce me to the other people that support your business.
Correct. And I always looked at it. Robin Robbins has a thing where she said, and I was in Robin Robbins way, 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 way back when, and she called it multiple oil wells. Once you get an oil well going, keep pumping that oil well, but go turn around and look for your next source, basically. Yeah. And so, we were always looking for what was the next source of leads. And sales and marketing, it's a little bit of it's witchcraft a little bit. And you throw a lot of money, into a hole for a while till you figure out what's working. And sometimes you even feel like you're throwing it into a hole when it is working. But it's necessary to build an MSP for sure.
Right.
So you said you were the preferred integrator for some of the dental companies. Like, was this to the point where you would go to prospects or offices or practices, and they would like they've heard of you? These are almost warm sales.
I would go in together with their rep. So this is back in the day, I would, wake up in the morning, I would drive to Savannah and I would hit 5 different offices. And I would drive to Bainbridge, Georgia, and go sit in the waiting room with the Dexis rep, and we would go in and we would sell them digital x-rays together. And I did that for years. a little blue VW Jetta, and I put 250,000 miles on the thing, just driving all over South Georgia and North Florida.
That's awesome. A Jetta at that.
Yeah, it was the base. It was had roll 'em up windows and stick shift. It was a great little car. Yeah.
My 16-year-old daughter thought that was a lie about the roll-up window.
Yeah, it's great.
Like,
And,
no.
and I'm a car guy. I always had a nice car, but I always had that was my beater. That was it's awesome.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I love that. So when it comes down to it for you, um, what do you think is a driver for you to continuously grow and succeed? Because you mentioned you merge with people and stuff, which is very,
Yeah.
it's difficult. You're taking on a new set of responsibilities every time you do this. So what's keeping you in the game to be okay?
I just love the game. It's funny because I talk about HCG and I've been in it for whatever that is now, 13 or 14 years. And over that time, 17 of my friends have sold for their number. You talk about Reed's running Courser now, and
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Rounds and Nick Bach. I mean, these are people that were awesome, and they all decided that they hit their number. I still love the game. I enjoy coming to work every day, and I also probably I'm the lazy kid, so I'm not working super hard. I'm I'm I've always had the ability to kind of see the big picture, and I see the 2 or 3 things I need to do that are going to affect the way things are, and not really get like I don't have to push paper all day to be effective. So I've been able to kind of, and I put a lot of good people around me. Like if I don't show up to work tomorrow, the sky's not going to fall. Now there are there are times. I mean, we all know it. There's times where things don't go your way and things stink, and we've lost a $40,000 a month client before, and when you lose a $40,000 a month client, you're like, but at the end of the day, whatever. And I really like to come hang out with my people and push things around the map, and it's fun still for me. I'm probably way past my number. I don't have kids, and I'm I could do whatever I really probably wanted to do. But I still like to play the game. And honestly, when you look at it from uh, kind of a chess perspective, there aren't a lot of things that you can do where you can put your money back into the game and get the return that you get in this game, right? Like the you're talking about, your return on capital here is 150%, right? Like it's a lot. You can put your money in the stock market, you can't, and you're in control. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
But your return, one thing, just sorry, Matt, I just want to say that the return of 150%, that's not true for everybody. So at some point, we need to go down this conversation about how you get there, because
it's true.
so the initial days are very high cost, very low revenue, very low, maybe high revenue even, but very low margin and EBITDA, right? So, but we'll get to that. Just so I throw it out there now to know we're coming back to that.
It's true. Then there's no doubt about it. And it's another thing that on that journey, I was very lucky to very early meet Paul Dipple, and like I had some people, Nick Box, one of the people was like, just listen to that guy, dude.
Yeah.
And so and I'm a numbers guy. I was an econ major. I'm a math guy. And so, in that return that I'm talking about, it's Greg Crabtree, simple numbers, big profit, whatever that is. Greg Crabtree's also a really, really smart dude from kind of the 50,000 foot level, and Paul in the SLI numbers are Peter now at the, where the rover's hitting the road. I think if you drive to those numbers, none of us starts out, hitting best in class EBITDA and all that kind of stuff.
No,
But
right. Agreed.
I think that journey there, though, is once you can get to that spot where you can predictably hit those numbers, I think it's a pretty cool place to be.
So by almost any subjective metric, this has been a resounding success. You've been in business for 30 years. You have multiple locations. You've penetrated a specific vertical. What does success look like going forward for you? Are you looking to become a nationwide company, or you're looking to become a big platform company to other verticals? What's next?
Yeah. So my 5-year goal is to really kind of solidify the Southeast. I think there's still some runway there. Um, a lot of my friends that are in that dental integrators organization are becoming they're our age and are my age, and they're looking for an exit. So I think there's some runway there. I mean, ultimately, I think that probably there will be a big national dental integration company, um, and there's 4 or 5 of us that have gotten relatively large, and maybe at some point we all go together there and we sell to institutional money. I don't know, what that eventually looks like.
Yeah.
Obviously, we could sell to a platform at any point now, or be a fold in or whatever, however we wanted to do that. Um, but we all talk, and talk's cheap. But maybe that works. I honestly right now, we're doing well and it's fun and we're all enjoying it. I do have some minority partners as well, so I would like for it to be at a spot where they, when we do ultimately do a transaction, if and when we do, that they're at a position where they don't ever have to worry about anything as well. And so the team is super important to me, making sure everybody's taken care of. I'm 51 and I'm talking about retiring. It's still, it just doesn't, the two don't compute to me yet. Um, you know, uh, like I was just, we were chatting with Matt beforehand. My dad retired at 75 or whatever. He's a simulator instructor. And I just don't see myself, I'm not going to go play golf. And I would be the person that was sitting there, not happy, after, a couple of weeks of doing nothing. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, but to the point, I think HTGR Evolve has done a really good job of making us put a framework around all that stuff. What does it look like? Yeah, I'm always prepared. I'm always preparing the company for sale, even though it's not for sale.
That's fair. I think so, but I'm wondering how you go about doing all this um while being the lazy guy, because that was your comment, you're the lazy guy. So
Yeah.
how do you, maybe maybe your definition of lazy guy is different than
No, my definition of lazy guy is the lazy guy. Um, the thing about it, and I think and I've always been good at it, is there are 3 or 4 things probably right now that Sean can do that are really going to affect the next 5 years for Sean. And there's probably 100 things you could feel guilty about doing right now that you feel like you need to do. That if you don't really do, they probably aren't going to make that big of a deal. I've always been good about getting the 2 or 3 big things done and letting the other things take care of themselves. And by take care of themselves, maybe that's delegating them to them. Maybe that's just saying no. Maybe that's just not doing them and letting that chip fall. Um, but I'm definitely not the guy that's going to have a heart attack because I was, burning the candle at both ends. That's just not me. And there are certain things that I enjoy doing. Like people have probably seen me on YouTube. I've got a pretty big YouTube channel, or a relatively large YouTube channel. I really like that. So I do it. And that's probably a lot of time, and probably nobody else really wants to spend that time and energy doing that stuff, and they get stressed out. I like it. So I do it.
nice. So all right, so you're not, you're relatively lazy. Okay, cool. I'm done talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can be, it's funny because, and I say that with pride. There was uh, a group that came into to Evolve, grade A. They were out of Ottawa, Canada. And the two is Alan and Matt, and they came and said, "Hey man, we're the smart lazy kids." And I was like, "That's pretty awesome, man." And they went to private equity before everybody else went to private. And they jammed and they sold and they made their money, but they were not gonna, they weren't gonna be working tickets at 12 a.m. That just wasn't them.
Not right. Well, that's fair. I love that you're assessing what you are and doing what you want based off of that, because I feel like far too often people have a set expectation of what they think they're supposed to be. And they have to stick to those even though they're not. Like, that's what my dad was, so I better be. Or that's who I looked up to, and that's what they did, so that's what I should
Mhm.
do.
Correct. I think a lot of people have guilt, like they got to be burning the candle at both ends as entrepreneurs. I think it's just, you know, everything media, everything we watch, your social media, everybody looks like they're making a zillion dollars and they're in, Prague, yeah, at the beer fest or whatever. And, that's the reality of it is you don't have to burn the candle at both ends. You can be a successful entrepreneur and not take on everything and say no to things. But the key there is that you're doing the right things and that you take those things seriously.
Well, Clay, we're going to get you out on time since we are almost at the top of the recording hour. So there's one question that we always end the show with. And I want to frame it this way. A lot of our listeners, viewers are earlier on in their journey, both in terms of growth and just in terms of absolute time than you are. And if you could give them one piece of advice in the form of a habit that they should form or a habit that they should drop, what would it be to give them a higher chance of achieving some of the same successes you have? What's your advice to the audience?
Yeah. I would join a peer group first and foremost. I think that's really good. And then understand your numbers. I think those two things really help you focus on what you're doing. I think most young people they figure out that they're good at tech. They figure out they can sell it to a couple people and they just start going and then starting to understand what best practices are, what best in class looks like, and start to drive to that. The sooner you get on that journey, I think the sooner you're able to kind of gain some altitude and not be just at the top of the trees. And, yeah.
I love it.
I like that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think you said it before when you said put a framework around what you're doing, right? One thing is identify. It's like anything. Most of the guys at minimum that are in the space, they're really good at tech. They work for a company. They start doing some side jobs a lot of times, and then they're like, "Wow, I make pretty good money, and I'm tired of dealing with corporate America. So, what if I did this on my own?" And then I think all they could be the greatest ever at it, but it doesn't matter because they haven't figured out how to monetize the right way and how to also scale based off of them because nobody's scalable. It's, so I do appreciate that. And once you know the numbers, it forces you to make decisions.
Correct. And the biggest one there too is, when new groups come into our Evolve group, me and a couple of guys will go through their numbers with them. The biggest one for, the 3, 4, 5 person MSP out there to understand is to get your cost of goods sold, your labor up into cost of goods sold. Knowing what you're paying for labor and what you have left on the table at gross margin, I think is the one number that sets you free. Because then you know how much money, once you know your gross margin, you know what you have to spend on expenses. And but most people at that size don't put their labor up in the cost of goods sold, and therefore they don't know what the engine is really making. They don't really know at the end of the day that the product that they're selling is making money or not. And the product is labor, right? Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. So, Matt, any last words on this? Any closing words on that?
No, I think Clay summed it up perfectly, and so did you, Sean, right? So many of these businesses start out as a technical engineering person who hangs up a shingle, and I think there's something for all of those organizations to learn from this story.
Absolutely. Clay, thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate this time. Seriously.
Awesome.
You're busy, and it's also, well, we can't tell us people when we're doing this because it will date us. We don't know every date we did this on. However, it was a free day for most of us, but us we're working still. So thank you for that, Clay. Matt, good seeing you again as always. And for everybody out there watching, I hope that you were able to pick up some stuff from this, and also don't hesitate in responding to when we put these things out. Let us know if you guys want to talk more to Clay. I'm sure we can. Sounds like Clay will talk to anybody, even though he's a lazy guy. I feel like
Yeah.
talk to everybody. Yeah, take a look, check out our next upcoming episodes, and we will see you all soon.